So, very excited today to show you guys what's in my camera bag. Have a look. There's actually nothing in my camera bag. I have actually sold my Canon gear. Now don't get me wrong, I absolutely love that gear. The combination of the Canon 70 Mark II and the 100-400 Mark II I think is an absolutely great setup for wildlife photography. And it's not the most expensive gear either as when you come up to the prime, so it's a great combo and I've absolutely loved it. And I'm not moving away from it because I think it's shit or anything like that. I actually think it's really good. I'm moving away from it because basically my next step after having that gear would be, my next logical step would be to save up for a long telephoto prime. My main thoughts were either 500 f4 or maybe a 400 2.8. Those were like, that was my future, and then also get a full frame body. So it was very tempting with the kind of images that I knew that you could get with that sort of setup. You know, really pushing the ISO and really getting that narrow depth of field. But for me, doing a lot of videos, doing vlogging, filming videos of wildlife, and also hiking a lot, traveling a lot, the weight of that system would really wear me down, and I think it would be more inhibiting in the long run for me personally, how I like to shoot and how I travel, how I get about. So for me, as you've guessed if you watched my series over the holidays, a good few videos where I was experimenting with the Olympus Micro Four Thirds system. And that is what I'm moving towards. I basically sold all my gear and I'm getting the OMD EM1 Mark II and the 300mm f4. So they get delivered on Monday and Tuesday this week, and finally I'll have a camera again. It's hard to go without anything. Anyways, the only thing I haven't sold is my 100-400, that's the Mark II 4.5 to 5.6. So if anybody is interested in a used lens, preferably live in the UK, then do get in touch. It is in very good condition. Cosmetically, it's basically, it doesn't really have any marks or anything like that. Maybe a little bit around this little ring here. I don't know if you can see. And it does have a little bit of dust inside, so in between the front element and the next, it does have a little bit of dust. That's how I bought it as well. When I bought it used from, I think it was MPB or Wex or something like that. But that doesn't affect the performance at all, and none of that comes out of my images. So if you want to buy this, I'm selling it for £1,000 plus shipping. So get in touch if you're interested. And I'm definitely not selling my Canon gear because I don't like it. I don't think it's good. I think it's a great setup, and I would highly recommend that lens and the Canon 70 Mark II as a slightly more affordable alternative if you're not ready to jump onto the prime or a full frame just yet. So my main reason for switching gear is the portability, the lightweightness of this system, of the Olympus Micro Four Third. And the camera setup that I had or have with this lens and the Canon 70 Mark II isn't very heavy in itself, but in my future I would obviously be going for heavier telephoto prime. I would also go for full frame. So instead of doing that, I'm switching and I'm going with a lighter setup. And I know, since I've borrowed this system before, since I've had it, I played around with it for about 3 weeks over the holidays, I know what the main drawbacks are to the system, and I also know the benefits of the system, what it does well. So to me, the benefit, the way I shoot, the way I do videos, the way I travel, the benefits outweigh the negatives of it. The main negative points of the Olympus Mark IV third system that I've noticed was the ISO capabilities were basically on par with the 7D Mark II. So it's not going to be as, as good as a full frame DSLR. So, but I'm happy enough with that. From what I'm used to with the Canon 7D Mark II and using my 400 and at the extended 400mm, it would be an f5.6. Now going over to the Olympus system, mainly going to be using the 300mm f4. That gives me one extra stop of lights. Plus, the image stabilization on the Olympus is really, really good. I mean, I was hand-holding my camera, photographing a dipper in a flowing river at a shutter speed of 1/13 of a second, and the dipper was sharp, and I got a nice flow in the river. So that extra stability plus plus the f4 instead of f5.6 gives me flexibility, and I have many more chances of being creative and basically getting around that one problem that I see, that the ISO isn't going to be as good as if I bought a full frame DSLR. The next kind of negative that I noticed was the depth of field. Basically, for a 300mm f4, which is kind of equivalent to 600mm, then it becomes not an f4. You can think of it more as an f8, and the depth of field is not going to be that narrow, and I'm not going to be able to as easily create that really nice, creamy, autofocus background. But there are also ways around that. The f-stop isn't the only thing that's going to help me create that depth of field. It makes it easier. You do have to get a little bit more creative with how you may have to get a little bit closer to the animals, and you got to consider your background more carefully to try and get the same effect. But for me, that effect isn't all my photography is about. In fact, a lot of time I don't actually want that look. It all depends on the circumstances. The completely out of focus background to me is one tool in the arsenal of photography. It's not the way all my wildlife photos has to be taken. So I'm also very happy to work around that and get creative. So basically play to its strengths and get creative and work around the weaknesses that I see with the system. It doesn't mean that I will never ever get a full frame or anything like that, or a long telephoto prime in a different brand. To me, I'm not a complete brandist. I don't have to have Canon, I don't have to have Olympus or Nikon or anything like that. The camera gear is a tool. You use it to get photos. Basically, that's it. You play to the individual system strengths and you try to get creative and work around its weaknesses. So for me, at this moment, the Micro Four Thirds system just really makes sense for me, and I'm not saying that I won't go do anything else in the future. It might be that in the future, if I can afford it, maybe I'll get a system that is going to be heavy as hell, but it's going to have some of those, it might be a full frame. I can push the ISO and maybe a f2.8 telephoto lens, long telephoto lens, to give me those super creamy backgrounds or whatever. I might get that in the future, but to me at this time, the Micro Four Thirds system just really makes sense. So I'm going to go with that, and I'll be making videos with that system, and I think it'll really help me make videos as well. I definitely noticed that it was a lot better quality on the videos that I took with the Olympus system, and it's a lot easier as well, because with the Canon gear I would have to switch over. It makes a loud noise. I might scare wildlife. With the Olympus, it's going to be completely silent, and I can keep looking through the viewfinder while I'm filming. Whereas with the Canon, I had to step away, look at the LCD screen, and there's just a lot of benefits for me, the way I shoot, the way I film, to go with this system. Now, just because I change systems though, it doesn't mean that anything changes to what I do here on YouTube. I will continue making videos, taking photos of wildlife, and taking you guys out with me in the field. So basically, I now have a couple of days where I don't have any camera gear. So I thought I would do another video, maybe tomorrow or Tuesday, on just a Q&A. So any questions relating to photography or anything else, you know, leave it in the comments and I will reply in another video. But for now though, I'm going to be sharing some more of your guys' photos that you guys have been taking from your home using the hashtag shotfromhome. So enjoy that, and I'll see you soon.